You are listening to the Empath Now Podcast. Be sure to stop by empathnow.com and sign up for free tools and resources to help you become more empowered as an empath. This is your host, Tara McGillicuddy, and today I am back to talk to you about the Energy Philanthropy Movement and what it has to do with being an empath. So, what is the Energy Philanthropy Movement? It is this simple concept that you give without any expectation of receiving anything in return. And I came across this term a few weeks ago by a woman of the name Marina Jacobi. And what she does is she channels beings, she calls them, or they're referred to as the Council of Nine. And I'm someone who's kind of iffy when people claim they're channeling. I know I'm a medium myself. Those of you who have been to my clearing and healing sessions know that I work with the archangels. So some people might say what I'm doing is channeling. That's just not a term that I connect with. And I've seen lots of people on YouTube claim to channel aliens, angels, who knows what else. So I go into a lot of this very skeptical, not knowing whether I want to buy it or not, or whether it's believable. This woman I found fascinating. A friend of mine introduced me to her, kept sending me these videos about that she had, and I don't always pay attention because this friend sends me lots of different stuff, and she's just like, oh my gosh, I've been listening to this woman, I really like what she's saying, and go to her website. This was probably about a few weeks ago. She says to me, she has her sessions are booked out until April. And I hadn't researched the woman at all yet. I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that's just like a marketing strategy. Maybe she's just full of BS. So went to the site, and what really stood out is that she was offering these 30-minute channeling sessions at no cost. And when I first saw her, they were booked up until April. I went back maybe a few days later, and she was booked out until May. Then it was June. Now as we speak, she has something on her site saying I can't even take any more until September. So I guess, and that I didn't realize is part of what she channels from the Council of Nine. So I listened to what she said, or I listened to her talk about the Energetic Philanthropy Movement. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'm like, that makes sense. And what she's been doing is channeling, receiving, downloading, whatever word you want to use, from the Council of Nine. And what they instructed her to do was to teach the world about what they're teaching her. But do not charge any type of money for it. Open it up for people can give donations if they want. And, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. The concept makes sense. Then she went into what she learned from the Council of Nine, and it has to do with quantum physics and stuff that is a bit over my head to grasp. And she was doing these free webinars. She has hours upon them on there. And what I found interesting is there were people asking questions on the webinars who are scientists. And she'd be talking about a concept, just explaining it, but not using the scientific words. And the people from the scientific background would be saying, okay, that's what this is, and this is the term. This is whatever physicist or whatever type of science. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to it. So then she starts explaining this Energy Philanthropy Movement. And it's a pretty simple concept. And what it is you offer services, offer what you do at no charge. You do it from your heart. And you don't expect anything in return. You don't put any conditions. But you give people the option to give you a monetary donation or whatever else they might want to donate. And what happens, or what's supposed to happen, is because you do this, you start getting what you need from the universe or whatever else with monetary donations, or somebody pays your bill for you, or somebody gives you a meal type of thing. And there's a whole formula and quantum physics type stuff that explains this. And another part of it is you also practice gratitude when you receive this stuff, when you put your work out there. So I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something to this. This is like something I started doing back in March. I mean, I'd always volunteered. I've always offered a portion of my services at no cost, or products, services, things at no cost. So that's something I think I've always done for the past 20 or so years since I've had an online business. So that wasn't quite new to me. But back in March, when we were all got locked down and things just began going crazy with the whole COVID coronavirus, I started offering, this is for my ADHD population, my ADHD group action sessions, 2-hour group action sessions, which I've been offering them for a long time. Sometimes I charge, sometimes I don't, sometimes they're part of a package. So the action session wasn't completely new. And at the end of the action session, for quite some time, the ending closing exercise is always a gratitude exercise. So I'm like, okay. But what happened when it came to the coronavirus is I'm just like, okay, I have to do something. I want to do something at no cost, but I just don't have the energy to be on group calls and to discuss this. We need to do something new than just offer a typical webinar or a podcast episode. So I started offering the action sessions, and people were shifting their energy. They were getting stuff done and focusing on the positive. It wasn't just being productive, getting stuff off your to-do list. It was shifting people's energy and stuff. So I wanted to keep offering them. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep offering them for free at no charge, but my energy is just drained, and I don't think people are really going to pay for other stuff right now because there's so many unknowns in the world. I want to keep offering these for free. And at the time, I think I was doing a couple times a week, but I'm like, okay, I have to pay my bills. My webinar service costs $50 a month. And when I was doing a paid program, that would pay for that. So I'm like, I felt iffy, weird, but I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just put up a donation, give people an option for a donation. And I'd never done that before. It was either I did something completely free or I charged for it. It never crossed my mind to put up an option to donate. So I started doing that, and I was really blown away, really grateful that people were making the donations, because I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do them for a couple more weeks. And here we are, July, and I'm still offering them at no cost because people have been able to support me in doing them. And it's just been a great experience for myself and for other people. And I've been able to pay my bills and expenses. And what was interesting, around the same time, I was noticing that I was manifesting things. And they were weird things. Back in the beginning of the year, I said, you know what? I wish there was a place that delivered a Cobb salad to my house. But this is January, before the world closed down. It was just, I didn't feel like going out and leaving the house to order a Cobb salad. So after the coronavirus hit, every place in my area, the restaurants all shut down, so people were delivering. And there were 2 places that started delivering Cobb salads. I'm like, okay, that's when. Then there were other things. And I made a joke to somebody, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And there were other things that because of the coronavirus, I happened or I manifested. And I'm like, my gosh, did my manifesting cause this pandemic? It's a half joke. But I think in my mind, or intuitively, I knew this manifesting was related to the coronavirus. So started listening again to Marina Jacoby's quantum physics stuff in the Energetic Philanthropy Movement. And that gratitude piece is a big part of the Energy Philanthropy Movement. And giving away something without any expectation of anything in return, that's a big part of it. Then also being in gratitude, and I was starting every beginning of all the action sessions thanking people for donations. And I wasn't just saying it to say, there's some people that they'll just say it because they know they have to. And I was saying it It was connecting to my heart. I really appreciated it. And I appreciated that, people were making donations, and it was helping me to keep offering it, not only to support myself, but the other people who were in situations where they could not afford to make a donation. Or if I had charged, they weren't able to pay to come. So that was a big part of it. So I just thought it was really fascinating. And then I'm like, that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh, this manifesting is connected to the whole coronavirus pandemic. But I didn't cause the pandemic. I knew I didn't, but it was a half joke. But it was because I had made these changes with my group action sessions, and I was following with pretty much her Energetic Philanthropy Movement formula. And I think she pretty much says it's a formula, or I don't know if that's a word she uses. So I'm like, oh, wow, this makes sense. So before I started listening to Marina Jacoby, I was like noticing, like manifesting things I'd like think of them in a day, I get them. And it wasn't like, I manifested $1 million or anything like that, but I started keeping like a journal of the things I was manifesting. And it's been really interesting. And So all right, so what does this energetic philanthropy movement have to do with empaths? Like, okay, and this is interesting. Some of you are still listening and you're interested, but you're like, okay, what does this have to do with me being an empath? So there's this idea, or a lot of people who are empaths, light workers, healers, spiritual people, whatever the term is that you identify with, want to use, some people have a lot of resistance when it comes to charging for their services. And I've been hearing lots of different reasons from teachers, leaders, whoever, about why this happens. And some of them is, in this life or a past life, you took a vow of poverty, or you just don't value yourself, or, lots of these others, things that really have like a negative connotation. Like, okay, you should charge money, but you don't because for whatever reason you're not. But, you need just to get with everyone else and charge money, get over it. But this whole energy philanthropy movement looks at it in a totally different light. Possibly, maybe one of the reasons that empaths, light workers, spiritual people, healers are resistant to charging for their services is because they've tuned into this new movement that might be the wave of the future. It might be part of the new world. It might be part of the new financial reset, or whatever it is. So instead of us having to fit in the peg with everyone else and live in the real world and charge for our services the way everyone else does, maybe we intuitively, energetically knew that we were meant to be doing something else. And it was funny, right before I started recording this podcast episode, I was in a Facebook group, and two people were having this debate, argument, discussion about charging for services. And one of them was like, well, universal law says that you're not supposed to charge for your services, if you're a healer or a medium. And another woman's like, well, a lot of people, some of the best mediums charge for their services. So I'm like, okay, this is where this energetic philanthropy movement is the best of both worlds, like serves both people. Yeah, you don't feel comfortable to charge for your services. You're not charging. You're not putting a condition. But you live in the real world and want to make money or need to make money from your services. Here's that option for the donation. And the way Marina Jacoby explains it, I mean, she does all of her services at no cost. Or I don't believe she has another job, but this is what she was guided to do, and by the Council of Nine. And it's really interesting. I'll put her a link up on the site, and it's fascinating when she talks about the experiences and how it actually worked. But she was also talking about some of the sessions, the individual sessions that she's channeled to people, and they're like, okay, how do I do this energetic philanthropy? Like, I'm the breadwinner in my family. Like, I have student loans and credit card debt and all this. And what the Council of Nine has been recommending to people is that, yeah, keep your day job, so to speak. When you pay your bills, get everything paid each month, get the basics out of the way, then start doing this energetic philanthropy. So maybe you work your 40-hour-a-week job, and then you come home and you give from your heart, you give from your soul. You do this, you do it without any expectations or conditions. So it's not, for most people, it's not applicable. It doesn't make sense to just go kind of like cold turkey and don't charge for anything for your service. I mean, there are some people that they're guided to do that, and that makes sense. Like, she's somebody and it seems to be working for her. So, so this is something as an empath, like maybe this is the reason why you've had a hard time charging for your services. It's not that you don't value yourself. It's not that you think money's evil or all the other things that people put out there. It's that you intuitively knew or energetically knew something better was meant to come. There's another way to provide services and still get your needs met. So it's fascinating. And getting back to the whole empath thing, I came up with this idea to offer empath resources, podcast, online resources. It's been in my energy field mind for a couple of years, and I've told different people about, it sounds good. Empath's a big word, for marketing, but how are you going to? What's your business model? How are you going to charge for it? And I'm like, I'm not there yet, and I have a business mind. There's different types of models I could use, different type of services. But I was not going there. And a few different people asked me, I'm like, I don't know, I guess right now I think I'm just focusing on building my audience, offering the services and helping people. And I think I knew, I thought maybe at some point I'll come up with something I charge money for. I don't know. It's just not there yet. And it wasn't like, I'm against making money. I'm going to do this as a whole, volunteer type project. That wasn't my mindset at the time. But I'm like, this is something where I have my basic ADHD business already. I have a piece of that where I'm doing the energetic philanthropy. But also this would be a great place to incorporate that energetic philanthropy model movement. And I've been doing it because I started, I have the podcast, and I started back in March reaching out to the empath community, and I started with some, I was calling it Empath Empowerment live call. There were live calls, and they were great. I'm glad I did them. But what I really get energized by and what I'm getting great feedback by is the Empath Energy Shift monthly clearing sessions that I've been doing, clearing and healing sessions. And those were ones I'm like, I'm just going to do those. And I'm going to do a monthly. I'm not going to charge a fee for them. And it was open, okay, maybe sometime down the line I'll repackage them at a cost, or I don't know. It wasn't like I was not going to do it. Just wasn't, I hadn't made that decision yet. But I wasn't ready to put up a donation button for these because it was something new and different too. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I know this stuff works. But it was waiting until I got feedback from people. They signed up because people are signing up because it's new and it's free. And it's like, okay, what is this? But people are saying the clearing and healing sessions have been helpful. So I have put up an option to donate on the replay page. I will be putting them in sign-up pages and stuff. But this energy philanthropy movement is a new option, especially those of you who are the healers, who are the light workers, the light warriors, whatever. There's so many different terms for what we are now, the empaths. You do have that option. But what I do want to make sure that I talk about before I end today's episode is boundaries when it comes to this energetic philanthropy. It's very important as empaths that we don't get drained by offering way too many free services or too many sessions. So if this is something like, this energetic philanthropy thing really connects with me and I want to try it, make sure you have healthy and effective boundaries in place. Like I talked about, I like doing the group thing, working in groups better. I can reach more people. And, if I was doing 30 individual sessions a week, I'd make myself sick. Or even if And I also talked about how I like doing the format where I do the healing session as opposed to like a small group session where I'm interacting with people. I might switch and go back to that at some time. Or, but if you're someone who likes the individual type sessions, say you decide you want to become part of this energetic philanthropy movement, and offer individual sessions with no conditions, no expectations of anything in return. Make sure you are taking care of yourself, that maybe you decide you offer those type of sessions once a month or 2 hours total a month or whatever it is. And everyone's different. Like what works for me might work differently for you. But that's the one thing, because I think this woman will talk about, Marina Jacoby will talk about the Energetic Philanthropy Movement, but she's talking about it from a broader concept. I'm talking about it like from you as an empath. Make sure you have those boundaries, because what's going to happen if you don't have boundaries in place and you start getting overworked? You're going to become resentful, and you're going to put that negative energy out there, and it's going to cancel out all the, well, if it's going to cancel it, but it's going to interfere with you coming from your heart and the whole, formula of the energetic philanthropy. And also, you can if you get yourself sick, you're not going to be able to help anyone else, let alone yourself, let alone anyone else. I think I said that backwards. So the energetic philanthropy movement, I heard about, I'm like, yeah, this, it connected. Oh, this is why empaths may have trouble may have trouble charging for services. So this is something to really think about. And what happens is people would rather give from their heart. Like I remember years ago being involved in a benefit for a friend who is sick. Actually, I've been involved in a couple of them, and people oh, but no one has any money. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? People would rather give to a cause. People feel good when they give from their heart. They'd rather, go to a party, a benefit, and spend money on a $50 raffle ticket because they know it's going to help someone than to spend $50 on their credit card bill or their student loans or whatever else it is. So that's something to really think about from a logical perspective. When you help somebody, when you make a change, you connect with the heart and they feel good about giving you money, as opposed to, just I have to charge it. It's a fee. So that's something to look at. But all right, I did not expect to be talking this long about the energetic philanthropy movement. Let me know what you think. And if Marina Jacoby is the woman's name, and I was more drawn to the concept, some of you listening, the whole channeling, the Council of Nine, maybe a bit weird to you, but it's fascinating. And she has, scientists on her calls who, she'll talk about a concept or something she downloaded or got channeled from the Council of Nine, and these scientists will say, oh yeah, I understand that this is, what I learned in school, or this is, the term that's used for that. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this Empath Now podcast. Be sure to stop by empathnow.com and sign up for the free tools and resources to help you become more empowered as an empath. And this is Tara McGillicuddy.